Former US President Donald Trump spoke at the CNN Town Hall in New Hampshire, where he spoke umpteen number of controversies and issues, from smearing the former magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll to pardoning the rioters involved in 2021's Capitol Hill violence, ducking the question on federal abortion ban to ongoing armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Speaking over the issue of the border crisis between the United States and Mexico, Trump said he would return to one of the harshest immigration enforcement policies imposed by his administration. Trump's remarks come at a time when Title 42 is all set to be declared expired by the Biden administration. We'll try and figure out what this could mean as far as Donald Trump's latest reactions are concerned, what they will mean for his own re-election campaign, in fact, of 2024, why Donald Trump chose to be on a CNN town hall is also something people have been questioning, because remember, CNN is also been getting a lot of flack for the way they conducted the town hall. Did they in fact deserve that kind of flack or not? I'm going to find out from Hal Lambert, who's the founder and CEO of Point Bridge Capital, the creator of MAGA ETF, and the former Ted Cruz National Finance Chair, and he is also a Republican strategist. Many thanks to you, Hal. Let's begin with the surprise from CNN's town hall with Donald Trump was not Trump. This time, it happens to be CNN. It did not just come as a surprise for American media, but the world. Before we get into the details of this town hall, we would all like to understand, why did Donald Trump choose to go to a CNN town hall?
Well, I mean, I think he wanted to get on the air. He likes to get on the air, and I think he felt comfortable that he could handle it. And the audience certainly seemed to be kind of stacked in his favor. I'm not sure if he had a choice on who was going to be in the audience, but they certainly seemed to be a Trump-friendly audience.
All right. Hal, why a town hall and come to a town hall and, in fact, duck questions? Because there were several questions that he, in fact, wanted to avoid. Also talked over Caitlin Collins, even insulted her. CNN chose a format that favors an audience receptive and primed to all of Trump's lies, holding a town hall composed mostly of Republicans. Wasn't CNN able to predict this for themselves?
Yeah, I think the interview, quite frankly, went as CNN wanted it to go. They focused a lot on President Trump's favorite topic, which is President Trump. So I think the first half hour was all about the last election and January 6th and the court case, and it wasn't a lot about the future. Now again, that Trump could control that. He could change the topic to looking forward and looking to 2024, but he chose to go through those issues. And so when you look at the overall interview, I don't think it changed anybody's mind. So those that went into the interview watching it supporting Trump, I think they came away feeling just fine about it. Those that don't like Trump came away saying, oh, it's the same person that was there last election. And those in the middle, I don't think were swayed. So I don't think it moved the needle from the standpoint of changing anybody's view on this coming election. What he did on that interview was very similar to what he does at his rallies, which is talk about those topics that were in the interview.
Hal, the presidential election, as we all know, is happening next year, November, and that's more than a year away. What was the rush for both CNN and Donald Trump to in fact get into this town hall? Was it the pressure of the ratings? Because we know that CNN now has a new chairman who very publicly has commented that the network had veered too far into an anti-Trump stance. Is this sort of CNN trying to start afresh with Donald Trump?
Well, look, I think it's certainly fair for CNN to interview Trump. He is the front runner right now in the Republican primary. If President Biden were to do an interview, they would jump all over doing that interview. So I think to be more down the middle, they should be doing those interviews. I assume if Governor DeSantis gets in the race and has polling where it is now, they will want to do an interview with him. So I think that's good for CNN to do that. I think the other networks should do it as well. We need the American people to see both sides and not just watch the one channel that they watch for news and have that be their siloed news source. We need to have it spread across all the news channels. And I believe CNN is going to be participating in one of the debates during the Republican primary. So I think it's certainly fair for them to be interviewing candidates.
Right. Global media networks have called the CNN town hall toe-curling, bad television, torturous, although it was a stark reminder of 2016, even 2020, and what is to, in fact, perhaps come in 2024. Because Donald Trump doesn't seem to have changed but gotten more aggressive with each passing year, how do you think this will affect the upcoming election?
Well, it's still too early to really affect the upcoming election. I think CNN did the right thing.
And when I'm talking about that, not just the town hall, but Trump's overall campaign as well.
Well, he's going to, in my opinion, he needs to really focus on what he wants to do going forward and stop focusing on the past election. I think it's perfectly fine for him to say that, hey, he felt like the past election wasn't fair. Everybody knows that. He can say that in a couple of sentences and then move to pivot, focusing on what's happening going forward and his view of the country going forward, and put the focus back on Biden and his policies. Because if this ends up being a Biden-Trump election, it's going to be a referendum again on Trump, and that's not favorable for Republicans. This needs to be a referendum on Biden's economy, Biden's inflation, and what Biden is doing in the White House, not on what happened, 4 years ago with President Trump.
No, but Donald Trump did not say if he would back Ukraine in the war with Russia. Trump refused to say whether he wanted Ukraine to prevail in its war with invading Russia. How is it to be put into perspective at a time when the United States is going all guns blazing to support Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he didn't win some friends in Congress on that. Again, he wanted, but basically what he said, though, was that he wanted to find a way to end the war. And whether that meant that the end should be that there'd be a stalemate and Ukraine would lose some territory, he didn't get into that specifics. But quite frankly, there hasn't been a real concrete response on what winning the war is from Republicans or Democrats in the Congress right now. Is winning the war that Russia completely removes itself from Ukraine and Crimea and President Putin steps down? Is that the end game? We haven't been told really what the end game is, other than we can't have Russia invading Ukraine. We know that, but where do you move from there?
All right. Hal, Trump has suggested family separation immigration policy could return. He would return to one of the harshest immigration enforcement policies imposed by his administration, separating migrant families at the US-Mexico border. That too at a time when we know that Title 42 is coming to an end. What does that mean in terms of the timing of his statement?
Well, I don't think it's fair to look at it that way. I mean, I think what the viewers need to understand is if you have a child that comes across the border with an adult, whether it's a male or a female, let's say it's a male, it usually is, and that male says, hey, this is my daughter, and the child is 4 or 5 years old. How do you know that to be true? And how do you verify that? You can't, if you're going to detain them and try to figure out who the two people are, do you detain them in one group with all the other adults, all the children and adults together, or do you separate them and you have to put children in one area and adults in another? Because again, just because someone says they're a relative doesn't mean they are. They could be a trafficker of that child. So you have to separate at the border. I assume Biden is separating at the border to verify who the people are, because you can't put everybody in one group together and house them. You just can't put children with adults. It's not safe.
Right. Hal, Donald Trump has made dismissive comments about Carroll a little more than 24 hours just after the jury found Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming the writer and awarded her $5 million. The former president has denied these accusations. What does it speak of him at a time when the jury has already pronounced him guilty?
Well, the jury found him guilty in a civil court, which is different than a criminal court. Look, she came out with some very negative things about him. That one of the harshest things you could say about a male is that he raped her. And so I think it's fair for him to defend himself. And she said some very bad things. When you say someone raped you, that's about as bad as you can say about a man. So I just don't know that him saying negative things about her is the end all be all. I mean, they changed the law to go after President Trump. It's something from over 30 years ago. So I mean, the issue is a little bit vague, and he's going to appeal that case, obviously, but he's denied it from the beginning. And I think those are a little bit difficult to really judge. I didn't watch the trial. I don't think anyone could. It wasn't videoed, so I don't think any of us really know all the facts on it. The jury did speak, but it certainly did seem that the rules were changed just to affect this case.